This is Movietone, Geoffrey Sumner reporting. Winston Spencer Churchill, mourned throughout the world by everyone who has respect for greatness. And history will confirm that Churchill was great. Lady Churchill, always by his side, shared each reverse and every triumph with him. Winston Churchill made history. He also wrote it. His authorship, brilliant and massive, would alone entitle him to fame and honor. Blenheim Palace, built for that great ancestor of his, Marlborough, was his birthplace in 1874. This is the room itself. And here's a picture of him as a little boy, with his American-born mother, Lady Randolph Churchill. Some of his long curls are still preserved at Blenheim. Now, at the beginning of an army career, young Churchill is an officer in the 4th Hussars. Incredible as it may seem, he took part in a cavalry charge at the Battle of Omdurman in 1898. He went to the Boer War in South Africa. It seems inevitable now that he should have been there. He was captured, but escaped. And he was then valued at £25, dead or alive. It was early in his life that politics claimed him. As Home Secretary in 1911, he appeared, he would of course, at the so-called Battle of Sydney Street. Police and troops were marshalled in this amazing affair against desperate criminals fighting it out to the last. Just an incident in Churchill's political career. And what a career. In the course of it, he was President of the Board of Trade, First Lord of the Admiralty, Minister of Munitions and Secretary of State for War, for Air and for the Colonies, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Prime Minister and Minister of Defence. In World War I, as First Lord, he mobilized the fleet and played an outstanding part in that first great struggle against Germany. This painting shows him and Lloyd George in Premier Asquith's War Cabinet. Out of office between the two world wars, Churchill gave many warnings of the gathering storm.
Sparste Besitz auf dieser Welt aber!
And when the storm broke, it was not long before he was called upon to lead his embattled country. His wartime speeches are unforgettable. This is how he spoke to the country during the first period of extreme peril.
We shall defend every village, every town, and every city. And we would rather see London laid in ruins and ashes than that it should be tamely and abjectly enslaved.
And again after the fall of France.
Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duty. So bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour.
The Battle of Britain now, in which the Royal Air Force shattered Hitler's hopes of invasion.
Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.
Britain's great war premier was tireless. Indeed, he worked unceasingly to carry out his declared policy of victory, whatever the cost.
We cannot yet see how deliverance will come, or when it will come. But nothing is more certain than that every trace of Hitler's footsteps, every stain of his infected and corroding fingers will be sponged and purged, and if need be, blasted from the surface of the earth.
The burdens of war leadership were immense. Not the least important of his duties were his journeys to battlefronts and conferences with Allied leaders. His cooperation with President Roosevelt was vital to victory. In addition, his own maxim was that anyone who fought against Hitler was a friend. When victory at last drew near, Winston Churchill went to the continent to see for himself. How he must have enjoyed crossing the Rhine. After victory, however, the man who had done so much to achieve it was turned down at the general election. Now Churchill took up his pen again, and from it flowed volume after volume, a tremendous record of those fateful years. He took up his brush, and painting as a pastime, he added to the huge collection of his work as an artist. For Churchill, painting was relaxation. It gave him the adventure that his nature demanded. Presently, the country had a chance to choose again. And this time, Churchill and his party were reinstated after vigorous campaigning by the veteran campaigner. But peace had become a Cold War, and more journeys to conferences were undertaken by Premier Churchill. In Bermuda, for instance, with President Eisenhower, the threat to peace was insistent. For his great services, he had been made a Knight of the Garter, an honor crowning a lifetime of service. And Sir Winston was still at the helm. Then, to mark his 80th birthday, ceremonies were held in historic Westminster Hall. 2 gifts were offered. The first, a portrait by Graham Sutherland. The second, an all-party present, was a commemorative book.
I'm now nearing the end of my journey. I hope I still have some services to render. However that may be, and whatever may befall, I am sure I shall never forget the emotions of this day.
Those birthday celebrations were unique and most moving. Then Sir Winston retired from the premiership, and to mark the occasion, the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh dined with him at number 10. But Churchill was still a parliamentarian, and even though his health and vigor had begun to fail, the wisdom of the elder statesman was unimpaired to guide and counsel his successors. We remember him in the evening of his life, and in his years of greatness, the greatness of this man who became a legend in his own lifetime. In the garden of his country home, the man who succeeded him as Premier gives a final tribute. Lord Avon recalls those years of greatness.
Endowed with an energy which was much more than a zest of life, he could work through long hours and surmount crises, helped also by a constitution remarkable for its vigor. Churchill would have been famous in any age and could have surmounted any physical tests of endurance. But he loved best the age in which he lived. His was a foresight which saw clearly and spoke bravely of what he saw. He guarded his country from danger and warned her with the touch of an artist and the knowledge of a historian. To work with him was a fascination, for it was to live with greatness.